You're listening to 90.1 FM KPFT Houston. I'm Cameron Waggett with the People's News. The French Consulate General in Houston, Alexis ANDRES, recently traveled to Washington, D.C. to attend French President Emmanuel Macron's historic state visit to the U.S. Capitol. Today I have the pleasure of speaking with French Consul General ANDRES about his recent trip to D.C. Thank you, Consul General ANDRES, for speaking with me today, and welcome to the program.
Thank you, Cameron. Thanks for inviting me on your radio, and I'll be happy to answer your questions.
You attended President Macron's first official state visit to the White House. What are your thoughts and personal impressions on this historic moment?
So first, of course, state visit is the highest level of a visit that a president can, that a head of state can make in a country, and it has a special protocol which gives such a visit a particular flair. And my first impression, I would say, when I came to Washington was to see all those flags in the street and to feel a kind of effervescence because of this visit. The second point I'd like to underline is that it was also the first state visit under the presidency of President Trump, and of course, as President Macron has underlined at many times, it's a great honor for France and for the President Macron to be invited for this first state visit of the presidency. I personally attended the welcome reception at the White House, and I also attended the reception that President Macron gave for the French community at the French embassy. And both events, even though different, were very moving. The welcoming reception, I will tell you, for example, when the flags of the 50 states arrived at the White House, it really made me understand the strength of U.S. history, and the fact that and I was very happy to see also the French, the Texas flag very close to the president. And so this ceremony was very moving on many aspects. The national anthems and the speeches of both presidents, and being able to live such a historic time is very important. The second event to which I assisted, the media didn't really talk much about it because it was more a kind of family gathering. You see, the president invited the French community at the French embassy on Reservoir Road, and it was a very, as I said, it was in a very family atmosphere. I can tell you the anecdote that since the president was a bit late on schedule, Brigitte Macron came and said a few words to have the audience be a little more patient, and she was very, very kind with the audience, and she's a very popular person. And then the president came and delivered a speech towards the community, and especially to remind how important the role of the French community in the U.S. is for our bilateral relations, and how important the reforms that the president is doing in France are also important for the role of France in the world. So my thoughts on this historic moment is that if we see all the steps of this visit, I would say all of them were success. were it the bilateral talks with President Trump, were it the speech to Congress, were it the very lively talk that President Macron had with the students of the George Washington University. During those 3 days, so many things happened that will be very useful for the coming months and years in building a Norway stronger relationship.
What were your impressions on President Macron's speech to Congress?
I would say my first impression, and it's important to stress this point, is that a state visit, even if it has a lot of protocol, it doesn't go detrimental to also a very sincere relation. And I think what made this visit very, very strong is that neither President Macron or President Trump avoided their different. They didn't try to hide their differences. But what was stressed all the time is that we have a common goal, which is to overcome those differences for the common good. Because this visit is also taking place at a time of great uncertainty on the global scale, with the new threats, with difficult issues to resolve. And of course, in this view, President Macron's speech to Congress was also a way to address the whole American nation in its diversity of opinion, of political parties, of personalities. And what first impressed me was when President Macron arrived, the way he was welcomed by so many people. And of course, when I saw Congresswoman Jackson Lee greeting President, and she told him a few words, I was of course very happy to see that President Macron had a very close time with the representative from Texas. This speech, during this speech, President Macron really referred both to historical background of our friendship and of all the issues we have to face together. And I think having such a bipartisan support from Congress to all the issues that have been raised really show that we want to talk about everything. There are points on which we totally agree, others where we have to find solutions, but we know how vital our Franco-American friendship is for the peace of the world, in fact, and it's not something overrated. It's really true. So I think for French people who watch this speech to Congress from France, and for the French community here, and for me as, of course, the representative of the president at the local level, it's also a very clear indication that we have to work on every issue, because we can make the difference when we talk about it, and we can even make a bigger difference when we find agreement on key issues.
You assumed your role as Consul General in Houston in September 2017, so I must say, bienvenue à Houston. What are your goals and aspirations for the French Consulate office in Houston?
Well, first of all, merci beaucoup pour votre mot de bienvenue. In fact, to be precise, I took my office on the 1st of September, but I arrived on the 15th of August. And of course, this is a very important point in the way I've apprehended your city, since with my family we arrived just 1 week before Harvey. And when people tell me, oh, it must have been difficult for you to arrive in such conditions, I always answer them that it was much better for me, at least as a consul, to arrive before than after, because it was a direct introduction to what the city is, what its people are, and it really I learned so much during those dramatic days. Of course, and I think the conditions of my arrival will keep on helping me focusing on the right issues. I know you were very interested in the Francophonie Festival, the French Cultures Festival that we held in March, and I thank you for this interest. Here in Texas, we have a very close cooperation in culture. You have wonderful cultural institutions like the Menil, the Museum of Fine Arts, the Kimball Collection in Fort Worth, and so on. So, of course, we support the exchanges, for example, of curators, and we also try to invite some French artists in Texas. But we also have on the education side we promote the teaching of French language and also the teaching of French education. And I'm very happy to see that in Houston, at the Mark White Elementary School, we now have a dual language program, for example. And so I would say I have one goal, in fact, as a consul here. It's really to have Texans get an updated picture of what France is today, and to have my French compatriots, either here in Texas or in the U.S., and of course in France, get an updated picture of what Texas is. Unfortunately, what I realized is that there are a lot of préjugés, seen from France. Texas sometimes is only a land of cowboys and oil and gas people, and so people don't realize that there is much more than that, and there is also a lot of interesting things like in the tech sector, in the health sector, and that the oil and gas sector is also changing a lot with facing the issues of the future. So and on the other side, sometimes Texan and American people think that France is just a country ridden by strikes, and this is not the case anymore. We are changing a lot, and many reforms are underway that will create a very good business environment in France.
Merci beaucoup, Consul General ANDRES, for speaking with me today. It's been a real pleasure and an honor.
Thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity, and I will just say, long live the Franco-American friendship. Vive l'amitié franco-américaine.
Vive la amitié franco-américaine. Tout à fait. This is Cameron Waggett with 90.1 FM KPFT Houston, the People's News.